Hey everybody, this is Terry Luongo and welcome to the Monday Night Home Base team call. I'm so happy to see so many of you with us tonight. Believe you me, this is the group that does not believe that summertime business slows down. This is the time in the season when we are getting into activity so that we will have amazing momentum going into Austin. And that's why tonight I am so excited that our guest speaker is Jill Herman. Let me tell you a little bit about Jill Herman, okay? Jill has been in the Juice Plus business. I don't know when she said yes to the product, but she said yes to being a partner 11 and a half years ago. And over 7 of those years, she has been a national marketing director. She's married. She has an amazing blended family. And let me tell you, I think we have to go back about 8 years when Jill did a training in Dallas. It was a small regional. Jill had some representatives in the Dallas area, and she agreed to train. And what everybody realized going back 8 years ago was how amazing Jill is. She's captivating. She's fun. You immediately say, oh, I wish I could be her friend. I just want to be her friend. That's the kind of energy that she brings to the room. I got to tell you, I've watched Jill Herman grow up in this marketing plan and grow up so much that she was main stage presenter at the national conference in Sacramento just a few months ago. And here she is going to be on our call. So without any further ado, I want to introduce to you the amazing, compelling, captivating Jill Herman.
Wow, thank you, Terry. Hi, everybody. Well, I love you because you're on Terry's team. I'm such a huge fan of hers and adore her. And I was so honored. If she asked me to do anything, I'm doing it. So the fact that I get to, and I see some familiar faces. Hi, Jerry. So I'm very honored to be speaking to you tonight. If I've never met you, consider us friends now. That I have been with Juice Plus for 11 and a half years. Product and business same day. So raise your hand if you're one of those people. We're kind of rare, but if you joined the team and started the product in the same day, raise your hand. I just want to see who you are. It's not better or worse. It's just a different breed of people. There you go. And most people don't do that. And as I said, it's not better or anything. It's just interesting to find out. Before I talk about what we're going to discuss, I'll just quickly share with you that when I heard about Juice Plus, I was the last person you ever thought would buy the product, and I was the last person who would ever sell the product. So don't reel anyone out, you guys. I'm telling you, when we say, don't write someone's story, don't make up their mind for them, listen to my example. So I lived on fast food. I didn't understand why nutrition was a big deal, even though I was a registered nurse taking care of very sick people. I thought anything holistic was weird. I did. I thought people who read labels were annoying. I thought chiropractors were quacks. I was very open-minded, as you can hear. I just didn't get it. I was literally in the dark. And I called everybody who was in our industry Avon ladies. True story. I was just kind of judgy McJudgerson about stuff like that. I thought I knew it all. I was one of those really thin people who thought they were healthy because they were tiny. So not true. And I was really toxic now that I look back. That's why I didn't feel well ever. So when I heard about Juice Plus, you would have thought that I would have run in the other direction. But it was the way it was presented. The way it was presented was this person was so open, and she was not preaching nutrition to me. She wasn't telling me, because people would say, man, I can't believe you're eating that. I can't believe you're drinking that. I can't believe you're not looking at the label. And I just did this to everybody because I just didn't want to hear it. She said, I have no idea. This is why I thought of you. Would you be open? I'll never forget those words. Do you guys know Dr. Candace Corson? She was the person who shared with me. So anyway, she was a complete stranger too. We had no trust, no rapport. I had never met her before. But the reason I was intrigued is because of the way she came to me was just so open, saying, hey, I have no idea. This might be something for you. And then I thought, well, gosh, I don't eat any fruits and vegetables, so I'm certainly not getting enough. Sounds good to me. But the next thing I thought, honestly, after she told me what it was, okay, hold on a minute. Everybody I know will want this. I mean, all of us moms, I was 36 at the time. I had a 9, 6, and 3-year-old. I was working 3 jobs as a nurse, stressed out, lots of stress in my life, no time, right? I thought to myself immediately, okay, hold on a second. If there's parsley in a gummy and she's saying people like it, this is like the best idea I've ever heard of in my life. And so she just mentioned it to me. And then 4 hours later, when I got home, it was a drive home, I called her and said, hey, I'm that nurse that you met. And the whole way home, I was thinking about all my friends. Wouldn't this be a dream if someone said this to you? I was thinking of all my friends who would benefit from this because we're all trying to get our kids healthy, blah, blah, blah. But here's the other thing you don't know about me. And then I told her my behind the scenes, right? Because everyone has the highlight reel. And then we have the behind the scenes. It doesn't mean the behind the scenes is awful, but we all have a behind the scenes. You know, things that we're not going to share openly at the grocery store with people. Mine actually was awful. It was pretty bad. But I told her about like debt. I told her about, my spouse had addiction. I just said to her, I'm really miserable. My friends don't know it. Right? So you guys all have friends that might be living like this and you don't know it. I looked like I had the perfect life. And I hated my job. It was sucking the life out of me. I tell people that it felt when I went to work every day as a nurse, I felt like I was wearing a wool suit 3 sizes too small. And by the way, I'm allergic to wool. Oh. That's how I felt every day going to work. But you wouldn't have known it. I was very good at what I did. I loved the heartbeat of the mission of being a nurse, right? And that's all I talked about with people. But the truth is, I wasn't happy. I didn't know what else I could do. I only had a degree in that, you see? So as I'm telling you my story, think of the people you know. I mean, I literally had a different life than people realized. Behind closed doors, it was not good. And so I opened up to this woman I'd never met and said, not only do I think everybody needs it, let me tell you the truth about my life. I said, I hate the idea of sales. I've never had a business before because I'm a mom and I'm a nurse. But I feel like I could sell the pants off of this stuff. Like, I just feel like there's something about it. I mean, I didn't see a video, you guys. We didn't have videos back then. It was just what she said to me. Well, the funny part, and I've never even told Terry this story, I told you how I felt about anyone in our industry, right? It didn't matter if it was selling kitchen products or purses or lipstick. They were all the same to me. I was a snobby nurse who thought they were all the same. And I said, so tell me about the business. And she said, well, it's kind of like, it's a home-based business, but it's kind of like, and I said, oh no, don't tell me. I said, is this like a Mary Kay kind of thing? And she said, way better, but yes. And I was like, okay, God is laughing right now. I gotta laugh. It was like karma. Everything I had said was coming back. But I said, you know what? I'm doing it. It sounds great. And so she shared a couple of bullet points that I still share with people today. She said, here's the deal, Jill. You can go as fast or slow as you want. I'll take you as far as you're willing to go at whatever pace you want. You'll have no pressure, no quotas, and you don't have to ask your friends to host in-home parties for you. And I said, oh, well, then I'm totally in. I had the assumption it was going to be very different. So that was me 11 and a half years ago. So Terry and I talked about sharing tonight is really more what's happened with me in the last year, maybe last year and a half. And it doesn't matter if you've been in the business a month. It doesn't matter if you're a DD, a VF, a senior sales coordinator. The title is irrelevant. This applies to everybody. What I've experienced in the last 18 months applies to all of us, and you can use it in your business. It doesn't matter your goal, okay? So we're all the same in this discussion. So what I learned in the last year and a half, I wish I had learned earlier, but that's how life is, right? I was meant to go through the stuff I went through for 10 years in this business, and it was the way it was supposed to evolve so that I could tell you this story. So in the last year and a half, I realized some things that some of you maybe have already figured out. And you might say, really? Is that her big epiphany? I'm a slow learner sometimes. But I'll tell you a few things that I learned. And some of you haven't learned it yet, and you're going to go, whoa, I needed to hear that, okay? So, and I did talk about some of this at the Sacramento conference, but it's worth repeating. The first thing I realized is that, you know what? when I look at myself and all my friends in Juice Plus, I don't care if it's, I'm going to just use, let's say it's Terry. This never happened with Terry. But I don't care if it's Terry Luongo, or I don't care if it's Jane Smith who's been in the business 6 months. What I realized is it's not just consistency and hard work and getting out there like we talk about that makes people successful. In my opinion, my big epiphany a year and a half ago is that it's more about the thoughts right here. That the people who tend to have an advantage, if we think anyone has an advantage in this business, it's not their circumstances, it's not the city they live in, it's not their connections, it's not any of that. I truly believe, you guys, it's their mindset. Because when I look at my whole team, I was like, why is it so hard for some people and easier for other people? Why is it that some people work so hard at this and get so frustrated, and other people it just comes naturally? And it can seem unfair, can't it? Like, how did that happen with her or him? And I really think, I really believe that it's what we're thinking. It's the thoughts we're saying, the things we're saying to ourselves, about ourselves. It's things, I hate to say it, but it is true, from our childhood, you know, things that are haunting us that we don't even know are there, stories about ourselves, about maybe not feeling good enough, or we were always the one that got picked on, or we were the kid that our parents said wasn't smart, or maybe it's a made-up story from our childhood that really came from nowhere but our own imagination. I realized that the things that held me back, and I still had success. Let's just go there for a second. I'm talking as if I struggled for 10 years and didn't go anywhere. And you're probably thinking, well, hold on a minute. I thought you said you got to national marketing director. I did, but I realized I made this business way harder than it needed to be. Way harder than it needed to be. It didn't need to be stressful. It didn't need to be full of angst. I mean, you can get to where you want to go with peace and joy, or you can get there almost dead by the side of the road. You can get there either way, right? You stick it to the same place. I got to where I was up to about a year and a half ago. I wouldn't say dead by the side of the road, but I would say not just relaxed with peace and joy and sort of in the flow. I would say no. I would say I was hustling to the point where I was hustling for my worth. Have you ever heard that saying? I didn't make it up. I wish I did. Hustling for your worth, right? Where you're in this mode of running so fast and trying so hard to get somewhere. It doesn't matter what your goal is. It doesn't matter if it's Juice Plus or weight loss or anything. You're running so hard and working so hard, blood, sweat, and tears, not realizing that we are the ones tripping ourselves up, that we are the ones that have a weight on our leg, right? That we don't even know that that's why it's hard. I had no clue, because I always brag to people that I can outwork anyone, right? Is anyone wired like that? And it doesn't matter if you are or you aren't. There's no bad or wrong here. You're either wired like this or you aren't. I could be a workaholic. Raise your hand if you feel like you really could be a workaholic if you didn't watch yourself. Not even in Juice Plus, in anything. Is there anyone who can relate to that? I'm going to scroll through and see. You can, Abby can. Some people I can't see their cameras, Terry. And it's not a bad thing. One thing I've learned that I'll share is that whatever you feel like is your flaw is also your superpower, right? So I'm not proud of the fact that I can get into overwork mode, but that's also one reason why I'm successful, right? So whatever you think is your flaw or your blind spot or something that makes it harder for you, remember that it's also a superpower of yours, that it makes you really good at some things. So I was working so hard in every area of my life trying to be perfect, trying to get it right, trying to make everybody happy, trying to overcome my lack of self-confidence and my secret lack of self-worth, right? You didn't know it was there because I was the perky, hey, how are you? Yay! But deep down, if I look back, honestly, I was still kind of a wounded girl. I don't want to get too deep into that, but a lot of us are walking around not realizing that some things from when we were kids, and it didn't have to be a bad childhood, you could have had a great childhood, some of those stories we created about ourselves, about money, about success, about people, about men, about just the stories we tell ourselves, that can become that weight, right? So you're running so hard, you don't know why it's so hard, because you're the one that has the weight, but you're the one that has the key to it, to unlock it, right? So what I realized, again, some of you are ahead of me. So many of you probably have been doing personal development longer than me, and you're like, yeah, I figured that out a long time ago. I didn't. The one reason sometimes we don't see that that's happening is because we have outward success, right? So I got to NMD and I was getting awards and I was moving forward. So I didn't think to look. Why would I look for blind spots when I'm getting praise and I'm getting goals, right? But when I really looked at myself and I took inventory of my life and who I am and my spirituality and my mental health and things like that, again, not till about 1.5 years ago, that's when I realized, hold on a minute. This really doesn't have to be that hard. I could be enjoying life so much more, all of life, not just Juice Plus. Your Juice Plus business is you know this, right? It's just a direct reflection of the rest of your life. I know some people say, no, I'm not like that in the rest of my life. Yes, you are. Yes, you are. I hate to tell you. However we show up in Juice Plus, we show up that way in the rest of our life. My friend Holly, for example, is a very successful teacher who became an instructional coach. So she teaches teachers now. She coaches teachers. She's so amazing at that. And then she came into Juice Plus and she was like, blah, 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 you know, like this big blah. Like she didn't know what to do. It was uncomfortable. She's like, what am I doing? And I said to her what I just said to you. And she's like, but I'm not. That's not true. I'm not like that in my career. And here's what I figured out. Ready? I said, you would be if something had challenged you enough. You haven't shown up this way in your career because you're safe. You can be the amazing instructional coach, the best in our city, and it's your wheelhouse. It's your, right? You're in your groove. You're in your flow. Nothing has challenged that yet. You get into our business and suddenly, oh boy, all my fears came up. What do people think of me? Am I going to be rejected? You know, all the stuff we think. And she said, oh my gosh, you're right. And I said, so you have two choices. You can just peace out and be done with Juice Plus and keep being successful and we can remain friends. Or you can walk through the most interesting, sometimes most difficult, but most rewarding personal development course in the world called the Juice Plus Business. And I said, and you're going to be an unbelievable woman on the other side. You don't need it. You're already wonderful and perfect the way you are. But what if you went through this and got really uncomfortable? And she said, okay. And I said, doesn't matter how fast or slow you go. Go slow if you want, but don't quit. So Holly went at her own pace, and she would tell you today, she is a POB sales coordinator who probably, truthfully, has a long way to go before she's a senior sales coordinator. And she's okay with that, right? Yet she'll tell you that she's a better instructional coach, she's a better teacher, she's a better wife, she's a better mother, she's a better friend, she's a better communicator, and she's amazing in every area of her life because she walked through the messy, as we call it, of the Juice Plus business, right? She didn't hide. She didn't keep herself safe. She got uncomfortable. She failed over and over. She tried probably 12 times to get her 2,000 plus. Isn't that noble? I like that story better than the person does it in 7 days. I mean, you're awesome, but that's not as exciting to me. I like the people who keep failing and trying over and over. So why did I tell you that story? Because that's what I'm talking about, right? So when I say that I realized about 1.5 years ago that it doesn't need to be that hard, I don't want to downplay the fact that this business can be hard. I get it. The only reason it's quote unquote difficult, okay, I'm telling you, is because we're taking ourselves on. We're looking at our blind spots with a magnifying glass and a big old spotlight. It's not because the business is hard. It's because this is a business, right, where the jig is up. You can't run, you can't hide. You can't. You can run and hide everywhere else in your life, and then you come in here and you're like, crap, she sees me, right? You're probably talking to Terry and like, oh, she's the only one that sees my crap, right? Because you can't hide it. So that's I would tell anyone, even if you're new, that's the only reason it's quote unquote hard. And that should be exciting, not depressing to you. It should be exciting because the rest is just consistency and being generous and practicing a few basic skills. The only thing that's hard, and I get that it is that we got to take ourselves on. We got to look in the mirror and say, holy shizzle, this is hard sometimes. I don't like feeling like this. I don't like talking to people wondering what they're thinking. I don't like the feeling of inviting people and then they don't show up. Or I don't like the feeling of, as long as you're willing to take that on and realize you're not alone, we're all doing it. It's like we're all standing out there naked, right? Whatever. Okay, we're just doing it. As long as you're willing to just do it with us and you're like, I don't care what I look like, whatever, I'm doing it, you will win at this business. Now, your path will look different You know, Pamelia's path is going to look different than Karen's and Sonia's and Kathy. Everyone's path will look different. Okay, so just like you hear from every coach and personal development guru out there, you can't compare yourself to other people, but you will. You totally will. You'll look in the Facebook group and the person's getting awards and getting acknowledgement, and you're going to look on Facebook and scroll through and see. It's human nature, but you get to decide, okay, am I gonna park there for a second, or am I gonna live there? Right? If you live there, Lord help you. It's not gonna be a fun life, right? Living in comparison constantly, beating yourself up, thinking everyone else is doing it better, no fun. But people sign up for that. Some people do. You can park there. I think I may have said this in my talk, I don't remember. This is something I made up once on a call. My team always loves it when I say it. If you park there, just make sure that you have less and less money in the meter every time you park there, right? First time you're gonna have like a whole $2, right? Then the next time maybe 75 cents. You're gonna get to the point, if you work on it, that you will get there and you'll have a penny to put in the meter and you're like, and then you're done. If you decide that, though, I'm telling you, that is right then and there is the golden ticket. If you decide that. How do you do that? You know, personal growth, podcasts, books, coaching, you know, from Terry, like affirmations, all the stuff you hear us say. Some people call it woo, whatever you want to call it, it works, right? So walking through that to get your mindset where it needs to be will let you park there briefly, okay? But you'll always park, I mean, it'll always happen. You're always going to get derailed. Your car's going to go in that parking spot, even if for a second, because you're a human being. Okay, so when I told you I learned about a year and a half ago, there were a few things. One was our mindset. We're making it harder than it needs to be, everything I just said. The second thing I realized was I had kind of lost my sparkle. Truthfully, I had lost my enthusiasm about this business. And you don't have to raise your hand, okay? But I know I'm not the only one. I know there's somebody on this call that's kind of feeling like that. It's summer, right? That's the other thing. We hear it more at the beginning of summer. But there are people, it doesn't matter how long they've been in this business, I don't care what their title is. And there's got to be at least one of you on this call that's feeling like, you know, I'm just not that excited anymore. Like, I believe in the mission, I believe in the business, I believe in the product, all that, but I don't have the oomph anymore. I'm not excited to invite people to events, okay, so that's how I was feeling. And there's nothing wrong with feeling that way, by the way, right? Everyone has seasons, right? You get to decide if that season is short or long, just like the parking spot. And I was there and I decided to look at myself and say, okay, why do I feel this way? Why is it? I believe in Juice Plus with all my heart. I believe in the business with all my heart. I believe in the community with all my heart. So then guess what I had to do? I had to point at myself and go, okay, what's my problem? And you know what I realized? Besides the fact that my mindset needed a little bit of work, I also realized, well, I'm probably not that excited because I'm not bringing in any new business. I'm not helping people. I'm not actually getting people healthier. And that's why I came into this. Do you see what I'm saying? It may seem like it's the reverse. It's like the chicken and the egg thing. Which causes the other? They both feed off of each other. But let me say it again. We feel complacent. We feel not excited and not inspired. And we can't figure out why. Right? But what I realized is the solution for that, actually, believe it or not, is the opposite of what you think. It's to actually get into activity. Because as soon as you get into activity and you help one person get on Juice Plus, I don't care if you've been doing this 15 years, you're reminded why you're doing this. And all of a sudden you have some energy. And then you reach out to a customer to tell them about the Omega and you realize, okay, I was pretending that I didn't like this, right? What you don't like about it and what you're feeling frustrated about and what you're feeling blah about and stuck about, okay, is either undue pressure you're putting on yourself, comparison to other people, right? Undue pressure you're putting on yourself, meaning you're feeling like you should be further along than you are and no one else is thinking that but you. You're comparing yourself to other people and feeling like they're doing it better somehow. Or the other reason is you kind of forgot why you started. And all of us, even if you're like me, I truly came into this to get out of a job that I hated and get out of debt. I didn't come in to save the world with nutrition. I just didn't. But I had to follow with that to make this work, right? Whether you came into this for income, and by the way, don't apologize for that. It's okay. Or you came into this for the mission and nutrition and helping people with health. Either way, you have to remember why you started. You have to go back to that because that's what lights you up. It can't be what lights me up or whether it's Terry up or Pamelia, anyone else, right? Or Jerry. It has to be what lights you up. So maybe think back. So I had to think back. What's going to get me excited? Well, it feels good to help people. I know that sounds a little like a blanket statement and like, okay, that's not a newsflash. We all know we're helping people. But think about it. When you really help someone, it does something to your heart. It lights you up in a way that nothing else can. It's like stopping by the side of the road, helping someone change a tire. I mean, let's be real. You do it to be generous, but it feels good selfishly when you pull away and you're like, oh, I did something nice for somebody. It feels good, doesn't it? So I looked at myself and realized I'm not helping anybody. I'm honestly not helping anybody. I'm not getting any new customers. And this is the truth, you guys. I wasn't getting any new customers. I wasn't having any events. I wasn't having any salad in the jar or wine and wellness or none of that. I was bringing people to things here and there, but I wasn't doing my own. So basically, I had been created a feeling of complacency that was all my own doing. So I decided to get into action. Now, again, you can do that however you want to do it. I decided, you know what? I'm just going to start over. I'm going to just wipe the slate clean and start completely over. And I literally did. I ripped up my memory jogger, which, you know, at first I was like, should I do it? Should I not? I ripped it up. I got rid of my old memory jogger. I wiped off my whiteboard and I just cleaned the slate and said, okay, I'm starting fresh. I restarted myself on the Freedom Revolution. I'm not kidding. After 10 years in the business, started myself on the Freedom Revolution, relaunched myself, redid my product story, redid my business story. I actually handed them to other people and said, edit it for me, critique me, coach me, right? I rewrote my list of people, but my new rule was every person on this list, I'm going to pretend like I've never talked to them before. If I have, I'm either going to ask for a mulligan or I'm going to tell them why I'm starting over and talking to them again. And I'm not allowed to ever say again that there's a chicken list. I told myself there is never again a chicken list because a chicken list is made up. We make it up. Let me just digress for a second. That's another lesson. So the people who you and I look at as our chicken list, they're as screwed up as you and me. I wish I could shout that from the rooftop. My friend Holly that I told you about, you guys, she was on such a pedestal. And I'm not saying this for like dramatic effect, which I do sometimes. This is true. Holly was on a pedestal to me. She seemed more polished and poised. She just seemed better spoken than me. She's beautiful. Her husband has a PhD in education. She has a master's degree. They just seemed like, you know, they have their act together. And when I invited her maybe 3 years ago, whenever it was, into my business, I had been already an NMD, 39 Club. I was so nervous. If you think that people don't still have chicken lists, right? It's all made up in our heads. Most of us have that. I was afraid to share with her. Here's the hilarious part, and she's my best friend now, so I have her permission to share this, okay? I want you to know that. You guys, she's a hot mess. I got her in Juice Plus, and I was like, okay, this is hilarious. I mean, she just was a mess. She had trouble. She couldn't remember anything. She was stumbling and fumbling. She said, I'm super insecure. I always worried what people thought of me. And finally, once when we were talking and I told her what I told you, and she's like, oh my God, that's what I thought of you. I said, you did? She said, I had you on a pedestal. And I was like, oh my gosh, we are crazy. But this is what we do. This is what we do. So I promise you, if I had another hour, I would tell you even more stories about that. But just know, I promise you, I'm 100% certain that every person on your chicken list, every person you think is more successful than you, they're more anything than you, they have the same stories in their head that you do. They have the same ridiculous fears. They walk into a room and they're nervous at what people think of them. I promise you. They walk into the room, and as they're talking, they're worried this or that. Their childhood's coming up. All the stuff you have, I have, they have. Now, the difference is some people who've done a lot of work on themselves. Remember the parking lot analogy? They park there, but they just don't stay there for very long. And I do know people like that. They do exist. I've met a few people like that who they've done so much work on themselves, on their own personal growth, and they're so confident and comfortable, and they really don't have all the head trash, as I call it, that I do. Or they've just learned how to completely flip the track and ignore it like that. It takes me a little longer. Does that make sense? So just know that when you're out there sharing, please, if you remember one thing from this call, remember that they are as messed up as you. I swear they are. Okay, so before I finish, can I just have another couple minutes? Is that okay, Terry?
Yeah.
Just a couple minutes. So just recently, I spoke at a women's business group. And a friend of mine who's in that group asked me to talk to them about positivity and mindset and some things like that I certainly didn't invent. I just learned it, right? And I was teaching it to them. Here's the funny part. When I got to that meeting, I was intimidated. These were very successful women in my city, and they're very businessy. I call them businessy ladies, right? I have a very huge, successful business, but I wear jeans and flip-flops, and I've never really been in a boardroom. So I felt a little nervous going into this country club, these fancy schmancy ladies. And I thought, okay, I got to get over myself. So I said to all of them, here's what we're going to do. And I asked them each to go around the table and share. What if you could be or do anything in this world? Is there anything you wish you would have done that you haven't done? And number two, when you're in a room of powerful women, what is the story that you tell yourself that's not true?
Oh.
You guys, you should have seen it. I have goosebumps right now. You should have seen it. These women who are powerful women in my city, who probably honestly may have looked at me like, who's this girl? They were crying. One woman owns a magazine in our city. And she said, I never went to college, and I have always felt inferior. Every time I go into a meeting, I'm worried they're going to ask me where I went to college. Another woman who has an enormous real estate company, multi-million dollar company. She said, I'm always worried that what I say is not going to be good enough, because when I was growing up, nothing was ever good enough for my dad. And she talked for 10 minutes straight. So again, just remember, everybody has their stuff. Okay, so the third point. So first I said mindset was the big aha I had, right? The second was that I wasn't really doing the activity. I wasn't getting out there and doing the work, so how could I say that I wasn't inspired? It's because I wasn't doing the work of helping people. So I did go back to work. I got new people on my team. And let me tell you that the numbers never change. If you're in this business 6 months compared to 6 years, you probably, maybe you don't feel as comfortable sharing your story as someone who's been in 6 years. Maybe they've gotten a little bit more mastery around some basic skills than you. However, the numbers never change. The numbers will always be the same. I don't care if you're Terry Luongo or you're, Julie Smith from Idaho. It's never going to change that the majority of people will come in and not do a lot. And that's okay. I'm telling you, as amazing as Terry Luongo is, she will never get to change the statistics. The statistics will be the same. Now, again, she's so good at this that she'll probably have better odds than us, right? But yet the statistics won't change, that most people come in and they don't want to have big goals. 80% of people want to do a little bit, and that's okay. 20% of people will have a goal. 5% of people will become leaders, right? So when I realized that, I actually had this big sigh of relief, like, wait a minute, so it's not me? So when I sign on with 7 people and only 1 talks back to me, it's not me? No, it's not you. It's not you. It's just numbers. So after all these years of experience, you'd think I was really good at this. I'm a pretty good recruiter. I think that's probably the best thing I am at in this business. And I brought on 15 frontline people, which I know is a lot, don't let that scare you, in about a 5-week period. Now remember, I'd had about a year of not doing much. Of those 15 people, 2 of them are still in this business, excited and building and all that. And that's okay. But do you see what I mean? When you're criticizing yourself and you're saying, I'm not good at this, what's wrong with me? No one wants to do anything. It's not you. It's just the nature of people, and it's okay. All right, so the last thing I'll say is I realized one reason I was feeling no spark is that the people I did have, I was expecting too much of them. I was putting my own thoughts, emotions, and goals and desires on them, even though I thought I wasn't doing it. I thought I wasn't in management mode, as they call it, right? I wasn't carrying people on my back. I was over that. No, it came back. It was an old demon that came back. So what happens, guys, is when we get complacent and we aren't working, what do? We start managing because it makes us feel better about not doing much. And we also want to make sure we're doing something. So we go to our teams and we manage and we fan the flame and we say, hey, how you doing? Hello, here I am again. How you doing now? Maybe you didn't hear that message. How you doing today? And then we go and complain that our team doesn't talk back on Boxer. Right? So I was doing that and like hounding and chirping and hounding and realizing, oh, maybe that's why I'm exhausted. Maybe that's why I'm not having any fun. They're trying to tell me that they're good and I'm not listening. So the people I did have, I was doing that, and that's not healthy for anybody. So I made a decision, and this was the decision. I'm going to pour my heart and soul into the people who want that and who are ready for that. I'm just going to love everybody else where they are. I know that sounds like something we've heard a million times, but I had heard it a million times too. But you got to do it, right? I also know that you should, lift weights and do all kinds of things I don't do, right? I had heard to do that, but I actually finally did it. That's the difference. I did it. Those of you who pick up the weights and work out, that's why you look different than I do in a bathing suit, okay? Okay, so with this, I did it for the first time. I said, okay, if they are teachable and coachable, if they have a burning desire, and if they're willing to show up and do the work, I will pour my heart and soul. And if they don't, I will have no frustration. I won't say a negative word about it. I will love them where they are, and I will have peace and joy, and I can breathe. And what happens when you do that is you are so relaxed and you enjoy it so much. What happens? You go out and find new people because you're not stressed and you're not fanning the flame and managing anybody. So that's how it really is true that I work way less than I ever did, and my business was able to grow. It's letting go of all that pressure, letting go of feeling like I'm responsible for everybody, right? You're responsible, right, to lead and to love on your team and cheer them on, but you're not responsible for their failure and you're not responsible for their success. That can sound like a little bit of a controversial statement, but I really believe that, right? So if Courtney brings someone in and she leads by example and shows them the system and does the three-way call and introduces her to everything, and the person doesn't do anything, has nothing to do with Courtney. It's the other person's journey. So I hope this stuff was helpful. I hope it was helpful to you.
Jill, helpful. There's 1,000 golden nuggets here delivered in just only the way that you could deliver this message. You are such a delight, girl, and you are an amazing leader. And I can't thank you enough for blessing the entire Team Up Home Base organization. You are adorable. And I know people, look at the comments. People are going to be talking about this for a long time. Thank you for making it so real. And Jill, thank you for owning your truth. Appreciate you so much. Guys, everybody unmute yourselves. Let Jill know how we feel about her. Mwah.
Thank you so much, Jill.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. It was great.